Well, thanks everyone for being with us. We are really lucky to have a friend, collaborator, and someone that I admire a great deal, Antony Loewenstein, who is a Sydney-based journalist. I'd just like to explain today's weather. We always try to be as hospitable as possible in Cambridge. You may be aware that Australia has been having major drought issues. We thought rain would be a nice change of pace, so gray drizzle was about as good as we could do on this. Antony is a guy who writes on a wide range of topics with very little fear of generating discussion, controversy, and debate, which is a happy, happy thing, and something that I suspect will be really enjoyable within the context of this room. Someone who's well known for his first best-selling book, My Israel Question, putting forward some really interesting interpretations on issues of Israel and Palestine, is now taking on a subject near and dear to many of our hearts in a book called The Blogging Revolution, which is looking at blogging in repressive states and societies and raising some really interesting questions about the roles of both professional and citizen media. So I'm thrilled that he can be with us today, and with that I will shut up and turn the microphone in this direction.
Thank you, Ethan. I left Sydney on Saturday, and it was 90 degrees. So when I arrived here, it was a little bit cooler than that. You might say, hence my cold, so forgive me for that. Let me first start off by just thanking the Berkman Centre for inviting me, everybody involved, Emma, Ethan, etc., etc. It's an honour to be here. I wanted to do this informally. I want to start off by reading a short essay that I've written. And then I think the best thing is to have a debate rather than me just talking and preaching, which is probably fun for me but not so good for everybody else. I thought it'd be good just to engage in some of these discussions which I think are really relevant, which don't get, in my view, enough discussion in the Western mainstream media. So allow me just to read this short piece. Internet censorship is something that only happens in non-democratic states. Regimes that want to crush free speech routinely employ automated and human-directed methods to silence dissent and politically uncomfortable material. Jails are filled across the world with bloggers and dissidents who challenge authoritarian rule. These voices are rarely heard in our media, especially if they are critical of Western foreign policy dictates. Alas, if only this were true. My government, the Australian government, led by Prime Minister Kevin Rudd, is currently proposing the imposition of a mandatory filtering process to, quote, protect Australian families and kids from some material that is currently on the net, end quote, namely child pornography and ultra-violent sites. It may sound benign enough, but the country's leading internet service providers, free speech lobbyists and independent parliamentarians have all responded with outrage that such a proposal might be implemented. Aside from the question, of course, of current technology being incapable of monitoring the long list of websites that could allegedly breach Australian law, around 10,000 according to our government, there's the freedom of speech angle. A number of politicians in Australia have advocated blocking online gaming sites, general pornography sites, euthanasia sites, and pro-anorexia sites. What next? It's not hard to imagine, in my view, a push to block sites that allegedly support terrorism. Take Hamas, a democratically elected government in Palestine, yet regarded in the West as a terrorist organisation. For many individuals around the world, myself included, Hamas is not a terrorist group and should be engaged, but will overzealous politicians make it illegal to view the organisation's websites? The militant Shia political group Hezbollah may find similar problems in years to come too, as could Islamist organisations that challenge American foreign policy. These are political freedoms extinguished under the guise of protecting society from terrorism. Despite these ominous possibilities, Australia is not one of the world's worst internet freedom abusers. For my book, The Blogging Revolution, I travelled in 2007 to Iran, Egypt, Syria, Saudi Arabia, Cuba and China to examine the role of the web in repressive states and the involvement of Western multinationals in assisting censorship. Most importantly, I wanted to challenge the thesis that the introduction of the web automatically brings Western-inspired democratic ideals to a society. This is, of course, deluded fantasy and wishful thinking propagated by any number of conservative think tanks in the US of A, and dare I say in Australia as well.